I'll never forget the night sparks lit up my driveway and Karen, the self-proclaimed queen of our HOA, screamed like she'd just seen a ghost. See, for weeks she'd been sneaking into my yard, plugging her Tesla into my solar charger, stealing my power like it was her birthright. I asked her to stop. She laughed in my face. So I did what any logical, stubborn engineer would do. I built a system. A trap. And when she tried to take from me again, she found out the hard way. Sometimes, free power comes with a shocking price. My name's Evan, and I'm the kind of guy who likes systems that make sense. Circuits either open or close. Equations balance. I built my life the same way. Quiet, orderly, predictable. My wife and I bought a little house in a calm neighborhood, tucked away from noise and drama. I had my garage workshop, my solar panels, and my pride and joy, a clean, efficient home charging system for my electric car. The panels soaked up sunlight all day, stored energy in a battery, then fed it back to my car at night. Self-sufficient, green, logical. It wasn't just about saving money. It was about knowing that I built something solid, something mine. That was my sanctuary. Until one night, around 2 a.m., my monitoring system screamed like a banshee. I jumped out of bed, checked the tablet, and there it was, a massive power spike. My car wasn't even plugged in. Yet my charger was draining at maximum load. At first, I thought it was a glitch. But when I pulled back the curtain, I saw her. Karen, HOA president. Silk robe, smug smile, Tesla plugged into my wall. She was stealing from me, and didn't even look guilty. The first time I caught her, I tried to stay calm. Maybe it was a misunderstanding. Maybe she thought it was some kind of community charger. But let's be real, she knew exactly what she was doing. I stepped outside, barefoot, cold concrete under my feet. Karen, what do you think you're doing? I asked. She didn't flinch, didn't look ashamed. Instead, she patted my charger like it was hers. Evan, we're neighbors. We're a community. This is a wonderful shared resource you've provided. My jaw nearly hit the ground. Shared resource? This was my house, my solar panels, my grid. She kept babbling about the neighborhood's green image and how my charger benefited everyone. I told her firmly to unplug. She crossed her arms, smirked, and said she needed at least 80% to get to her yoga retreat. That's when I realized this wasn't about electricity. It was about entitlement. She believed the HOA gave her power over me, and she wasn't about to let reality get in her way. That night, anger simmered inside me. Not because of the few dollars in power she stole, but because she crossed a line. And once Karen crossed a line, she never went back. The next morning, I knocked on her door. She answered with that same smug expression. I explained politely but firmly, Karen, my charger is not public property. You can't just take my power. Her reply? A condescending laugh. Evan, you engineers get so dramatic. It's just a little electricity. You've got solar panels, plenty to spare. I wanted to scream, but I didn't. Instead, I reminded her that what she was doing was trespassing. Her eyes narrowed. Stealing is a very ugly word. As HOA president, I'd argue your charger improves the community. That makes it a community asset. The arrogance was staggering. She twisted logic like it was her hobby. And worse, she threatened me, if you make a scene, I'll write you up for disturbances. Don't forget who enforces the rules here. I walked away, but in my mind a switch flipped. I knew she wouldn't stop. People like Karen saw boundaries as dares. I could yell at her. I could threaten her. Or, I could do what I do best. Design a system. Not just to block her, but to teach her. She wanted power? Fine. I'd give her more than she could handle. I spent that weekend in my workshop, fueled by coffee and a quiet fury. First came the obvious fix, a heavy-duty steel lockbox for the charging handle. Then a hidden breaker switch tucked away in the attic. If she somehow forced the lock, she'd be plugging into a dead outlet. But that wasn't enough. I needed more than prevention. I needed proof. So I built my own black box system, a monitoring device wired into the charger's circuit. It logged every voltage spike, every current draw, every attempt to access without authorization. And with my security cameras watching the driveway, I had the perfect setup, undeniable evidence of her theft. Still, something in me wanted more. Not just protection. Retribution. So I added one final upgrade, a voltage regulator. Safe for me, perfectly calibrated for my car. But if anyone without authorization tried plugging in, the system would surge, flooding the line with a spike designed to trip breakers and fry cheap adapters. It wouldn't kill anyone, but it would make sure Karen's free charge became the most expensive mistake of her life. The fortress was ready. Now, all I had to do was wait. And I knew she'd be back. It didn't take long. A few days later, Karen strolled past my driveway, eyeing the new lockbox like a challenge. She smirked but said nothing. Later that week, I spotted her circling the block in her Tesla, glaring at my house. Her ego was bruised. She wasn't used to being told no. Rumors trickled in from neighbors. Karen was complaining that I was hoarding resources and undermining the community spirit. Classic Karen spin. Then came the escalation. One night, my phone buzzed with an unauthorized access alert. I peeked through the blinds. There she was, in dark clothes this time, fumbling with some sketchy third-party adapter. She was trying to bypass my lockbox by plugging into a regular outlet on my porch. I almost laughed. That outlet wasn't designed for heavy loads, and her cheap adapter couldn't handle the handshake with her Tesla. I knew exactly what was about to happen. My system was armed, cameras rolling, and the voltage regulator ready. Karen thought she was about to outsmart me. But in truth, she was about to step into the final trap, one she'd never forget. Midnight. The air was still. I watched from behind the curtain as Karen crouched by the outlet, hands trembling with impatience. She plugged the adapter into the wall, then jammed the other end into her car. For a split second, nothing happened. She smirked, triumphant. But then, my regulator kicked in. A sharp hiss filled the air, followed by a blinding flash of blue-white light. Sparks erupted from the adapter like fireworks. Karen shrieked, stumbling back as smoke poured out. The Tesla's charging port glowed faintly, a thin trail of melted plastic dripping onto the driveway. I grabbed the extinguisher I'd mounted in my garage, Class C, perfect for electrical fires, and rushed outside. Karen was frozen, horrified, as I blasted the tiny flames into nothing but smoke and powder. When it was over, her car was scarred, her adapter a charred lump fused to the charging port. She looked at me, eyes wild, and spat the words, "You sabotaged me." Unbelievable. I'd just saved her car from burning to the ground, and she was blaming me. But I didn't argue. Because I knew, every second of her stunt was on camera, every voltage spike logged. The evidence was already mine. Within minutes, the scene turned chaotic. A neighbor, Tommy, had seen the sparks and called 911. Soon a sheriff's deputy pulled up, lights flashing. Karen, ever the performer, broke into fake sobs. "Officer, he trapped me. His faulty charger almost killed me." The deputy turned to me. I stayed calm, logical. "Sir, I have a monitoring system that records every watt. I also have camera footage. She trespassed, used a dangerous adapter, and caused her own fire. Everything's documented." Karen's face drained of color as the deputy asked, "What's in your hand?" She tried to hide it, but eventually opened her fist, a stolen SD card from my monitor box. The deputy bagged it as evidence. Neighbors stepped forward. Tommy described seeing Karen run. Mrs. Gable across the street offered her porch cam footage. Suddenly, Karen wasn't the HOA queen. She was a cornered liar. By the next morning, the fire marshal's report confirmed it. The blaze was caused by Karen's cheap adapter, not my charger. And with multiple neighbors' videos synced together, I had a damning 2-minute highlight reel of Karen's downfall. The truth wasn't just on my side, it was bulletproof. 3 days later, the HOA meeting was packed like a courtroom. Karen sat at the head table, pale and defiant, but the whispers in the room told the story. Everyone had seen the news segment covering her stunt. When the floor opened for new business, I wheeled out a projector. I didn't say much. I just pressed play. The room gasped as Karen appeared on screen. Sneaking, plugging in, sparks flying, shrieking accusations. The footage ended with her stealing my SD card and running into the night. Silence. Then I spoke. This isn't about electricity. It's about abuse of power. The person leading our HOA trespassed, stole, lied to the police, and endangered us all. I move for her removal as president. Hands shot up across the room. The vote was unanimous. Karen was stripped of her title on the spot. As neighbors congratulated me, I felt a wave of relief. Justice wasn't just served. It was engineered, tested, and proven beyond doubt. And as I walked home, I couldn't help but smile. Karen wanted my solar power. In the end, she gave me something far more valuable. Proof that no matter how entitled someone acts, the truth will always burn brighter.